Hey, everyone. Hello, everyone. Hopefully everybody's got their food. If you're at home, you've got a snack, you're hydrated, we're ready to go. I'd like to welcome everybody to the annual report, or, basically what's the annual report. I'm Bridget Tron. I'm chair of the board, but we have lots of people here and it takes a lot of people to make something like this happen. So thank you to all the staff, all the volunteers, everybody who made time to be here. And I think briefly today, what we're going to do is talk about what happened last year and then a brief look forward. So I'm really looking forward to hearing all about it. Thanks.
Thank you, Bridget. And thank you, everybody, for being here. My name is Todd Boyette. I am director of Morehead Planetarium and Science Center. Thanks for those of you who are here in person. Thanks for those of you who are joining us online. As Bridget said, it takes a lot of people to get us to where we are today, and we appreciate everything you do to support us, to talk about us, to visit us. We appreciate it. All right, so we'll spend some time today talking about the 2025 annual report, the impact that Morehead has had on our constituency, our audiences. As a state agency, a part of UNC at Chapel Hill, Morehead has a fiscal year that starts July 1 and ends on June 30th. So I'll be talking today about our activities from July 1, 2025 to June 30th. No, I'm sorry, July 1, 2024 to June 30th, 2025. What is Morehead? It's a place of firsts. Many of you hopefully participated with us as we celebrated our 75th anniversary last year. We're now in our 76th year. When we opened in 1949, we were the first planetarium in the South. We were the first planetarium anywhere in the world on a university campus. About a decade after that, we were the first to train astronauts in celestial navigation. We actually held the contract with NASA from 1960 to 1975. More recently, we were the first to launch a statewide science celebration in the country, the North Carolina Science Festival. It remains one of the largest science celebrations in the world. We'll talk more about what we did in 2025 related to the Science Festival. Other firsts. For many, many visitors, we are the first entry onto a university campus. That's certainly true for our school field trip audience, but also for a lot of adults. In many cases, the first time someone steps foot on a university campus is when they visit Morehead Planetarium and Science Center. When they get here, they are immersed in the science research that happens at UNC. And in many cases, that may be their first immersion in the kinds of research that happens at UNC. When those folks get here, they engage and interact with our student employees. We're the third largest employer of undergraduate students on campus. And for many of those student employees, we are their first job. So Morehead Planetarium and Science Center is a place of firsts in many, many ways. We strive to serve North Carolina and beyond by bringing together the resources of UNC, whether it's their students, our students, faculty, their research, to engage the public, to enhance understanding and appreciation of science. We aspire to advance equitable and inclusive science learning and exploration for all. All right, a little bit about 2025, our impact, our engagement, and our outreach. We have three priorities that we focus our efforts within our mission and our aspiration for our vision. We have three actual, we consider taglines and also priorities when it comes to efforts and funding and opportunities. One is Science for All, another is Space That Inspires, and the final is Career Launchpad. I'll talk about each of those today, starting with Science for All. In 2025, from July 1, 2024 to June 30th, 2025, we had another robust year of statewide engagement through huge, broad programs like the North Carolina Science Festival that reached more than 185,000 participants. The entire month of April, we take over the state. We want the whole state to celebrate science, and we have a lot of partners that help us do that. It's a very broad program. We also dive deep and work in depth with communities like the Sonder Science Scholars, which is in Gates County, North Carolina, in the northeastern part of North Carolina. What started as a middle school science club 7 years ago, those middle schoolers are now first-year college students. All of them, all participants, were accepted into four-year universities. We're pleased at that result, that impact in any community, but especially a community like Gates County where less than 20% of adults have a college degree. It's not as if a college degree is the answer to every ill, but this program in particular was interested in providing opportunities for the middle schoolers at the time, who are now first-year college students, to consider things like a four-year university. And then we not only serve our constituent audiences of children and their caregivers, but also other professionals within the field. And our Science for All Summit, held in February, actually was snowed out. We had to reschedule in early March this year. We had a record number of registrants, 268 leaders in industry, policy, and education, where we got together for 2 days to figure out best practices, share things that work, don't work, as we provide our goal of science engagement and learning for everyone. We're to the point now that we're wondering how big is too big. We like the size. We're growing. How big is too big for a conference that is open and promotes the kind of conversations we have? So that is an indication that what we're doing is important, is needed, and we're the right organization to be convening that. Not only do we look outward with our engagement, we also consider the 40,000 people that live, work, and study right in our backyard on campus with us. And so we're doing more, and you'll hear more about the things that we plan to do in the future. We're doing more with the university, even in 2025. For instance, you can back it up. In March of 2025, we hosted Grammy-nominated artist Radhika Vakaria, who worked with us to produce an immersive full-dome video to go along with her music and images of the Hubble Space Telescope for an immersive experience that is full of awe, or inspires and provokes awe and wonder. And we had Vakaria plus her two collaborators and us together on 2 days of experiences. We plan to bring them back. They're coming in October of this year for the fiscal year 2026. And with 14,000 attendees in this year's UNC Science Expo, I can proudly proclaim it is fully back. 14,000 is a lot, over 6 hours on a Saturday in April. We opened the campus up for all things science research at UNC, and it's one of the largest events on campus during the year. And while we do that, we continue to work with faculty, researchers on campus to help them tell their story, the broader impact of the work their research has on society. For our Space That Inspires, we are naturally an inspiring building. 1949, John Morehead spared no expense. And at the same time, he never envisioned a Morehead Planetarium and Science Center that works the way it does today. And so we will continue to think about our spaces and how do we create inspiring visitor experiences while we are here, but also when we go out into communities across the state. In 2025, we reached some milestones. Nearly 40,000 public attendees. That does not include our field trip audience. That's about that number, a little less, 30,000 in field trips. came through our doors for educational programs. We reached another little over 1,000 in our mobile planetarium alone. You combine all of our programs minus the Science Festival, and we reached over 100,000 people that participated in our programs. We also have new exhibit updates. We will continue to consider how do we tell stories of current science research. Current science doesn't remain current very long, which means we have to think, to be nimble, to be able to tell new stories as soon as they hit the headlines. And we also have discovered that there's through lines that we can share. There are anchor experiences that we can create that are through lines, no matter what the research is. Discoverers share that. And I'm excited to share with you that you'll see more of these kinds of anchor experiences that will be consistent regardless of what the research story is. Career Launchpad focuses on mainly our undergraduate students, giving them an opportunity to be more prepared for life after their experience at Morehead, life after their experience at UNC at Chapel Hill. We are, as I mentioned before, the third largest employer of students on campus with more than 150 every year. Rarely, I don't think ever, would you see all 150 here at one time. We have a lot of students that work during the summer, a lot of students that work either the fall or the spring, some students that are with us all year long, and they permeate every level of the organization. For our fiscal year 2025, as I mentioned, July 1, 2024 to June 30th, 2025, spend a few minutes on our financial results and our financial picture. Without getting too much into the weeds, there are lots of ways we can share this data, and it's always an interesting conversation about how we clump things together. So it may be different one year to the next. A lot of small numbers here. I think the main takeaway is we have lots of ways to generate revenue. We have a very diverse revenue stream. This past year through June 30th, all of our income, including carryovers from projects that were multi-year, just under $6.4 million. We earn revenue, we receive grants, we receive money from the state, we appreciate and need private support and philanthropy, and all that adds together, on average, a little over $6 million a year. Our expenses this year slightly surpassed that, $6.4 million. And again, we've had lots of conversations about how to group these together. The majority of our funds goes to we're in the people business, so it takes people to work with people. We're staunch believers in that. Our highest singular expense will always be personnel. That's an important part of who we are. The majority of the personnel then goes to the delivery of programs and or the delivery expenses. Things like advancement in marketing is important for us to generate the revenue needed to sustain us. Business administration includes classic administration, but also things like our retail, which is also part of the visitor experience, guest services, which is also part of the visitor experience, building maintenance, also part of the visitor experience. All of us are dedicated and committed to providing the audiences that we engage with with the best learning experience possible. One way to look at this analysis is to consider an operational analysis and also a narrative or strategic analysis. If you see here, in the operational analysis, we split expenses up into programs, facilities, which would be the building programs, the stuff that people do when they're here, and then the personnel. And as I mentioned before, 62% of our expenses go to personnel. That's consistent with the field of interactive science centers, and one that we're proud of and will continue to celebrate. If you look at it from more of a strategic priority perspective, 42% of our resources go to Science for All types of work, 38% to Space That Inspires, and then 20% Career Launchpad. I would like to say that we are, you'll see that we are in deficit $27,000, which is not a lot when you consider a $6 million plus annual budget, but it does rely on a lot of one-time monies and carry forwards. And so we always are relying on philanthropy to ensure that we remain a sustainable, vibrant organization. All right, looking ahead for our future initiatives. So we have a 10-year vision, and that is to become the leading university-based science center in the country. Now, why? We're not doing this just because we want to be the best, we want to be the leaders. We're doing this because there's probably not a more important time for universities and specifically science-based organizations within universities to take a leadership role in communicating the message of the importance of discovery, the importance of innovation, the importance of understanding how the world works, and understanding researchers making heroic attempts at trying to address these problems in research labs all across the country. And we feel like we are uniquely equipped to do this. And we want to lead because it's that important to the world. We believe steadfastly in that. We also think we can establish ourselves as a model for other universities to follow. And why not? Why not Morehead? Why not UNC at Chapel Hill? So you'll see that we're actually looking out 7 years as opposed to 10 years. And the reason we do that is within 7 years, we want to be on target to achieve our 10-year vision. Another way to look at that is we want to be 3 years ahead and achieve that vision before 10 years. So by 2032, we want to continue to do the work we're doing in all 100 counties, but we want to do more in all 100 counties. We want to do more of the kinds of work that we're doing in Gates County in many more counties. And so by 2032, instead of there being 10 or 12 new undergraduates who've never considered college before, we want that to be more like 100 every year. And in addition to that, then thousands and thousands of more served by our programs and opportunities. And we can do that through these efforts that I've talked about, including the North Carolina Science Festival. We run it on a shoestring. We would like to run it on a bigger shoestring. So our goal is to expand the North Carolina Science Festival. It's a great tool to develop networks and long-lasting relationships. We also want to think about what we can do in the next year to get us down the road to our long-range vision. And so seeking new sponsorships for the North Carolina Science Festival, looking at new partnerships to advance science scholars, not just in Gates County, but in other communities who have contacted us, certainly in Northeastern North Carolina, but throughout the state, about how we can replicate or make specific and customized types of programs that work for these communities. So we're looking forward to that. We want every student at UNC to come to Morehead and see it as a resource, not as a place they walk by when they are heading to class, although that happens every day. We don't want that to be the limit. We also don't want it to be a place that they visited when they were in 3rd grade or 6th grade and they haven't been back. And so we do see thousands of students. We would like to see thousands more. There are nearly 35,000 students at UNC at Chapel Hill, and we see a fraction of them on an annual basis. And so removing barriers, even though it's just a few dollars to enter with a UNC One card as a student, removing those barriers and expanding our hours are key to that. There's a lot of conversation about UNC creating an arts and culture district. We are a key part of that. We're excited about that. We believe that we have a lot to offer arts and culture on campus, and we have a lot to learn. And we look forward to working with our partners in that. Expanding how we support the academics on campus, expanding how we support the other things that students, staff, and faculty care about, like athletics, in addition to the arts and culture. Over the next year, we have some very interesting things we are considering. We've established, and Andrew will talk about this in a little bit in more detail. We've established a robust committee structure to involve more people. We have a very small staff, less than 40 full-time staff, plus the 150 students that we work with. To meet our goals, it requires the help of a lot more people, as we've already acknowledged in many ways. And so we look forward to that. Developing new partnerships. We know a lot of people on campus. There are a lot of people we don't know. It's a big campus. It's decentralized in many ways, so we look forward to that. We are working with a physics professor who is interested in developing a class, and in many ways, it'll be a proof of concept for more of the kinds of things we're doing. Currently, he's preliminarily calling it Into the Metaverse. For those of you who like the movie series, we're interested in capturing the people's imagination about what the metaverse could possibly be. He's actually looking at it as an interdisciplinary course that's taught in our planetarium theater, designed around all of the assets that a place like Morehead Planetarium and Science Center has. Extremely excited about that as an opportunity. And we look forward to partnering with him and his colleagues as they consider us as a different kind of classroom that they can't always have access to at any other university except UNC at Chapel Hill. And continuing our work with our partners, emerging partners in the arts and culture district. The space that inspires, our renovation is now almost 6 years old, which is amazing if you think about it. A renovation of 2019 and 2020 was the first major effort to do anything with our building since it opened in 1949. So we did a lot of back of house things. We made the building work more for our purposes, not how things were in 1949. Things like ADA accessibility, improved electricity, HVAC, getting from one end of the building to the other without having to leave the building, just basic things like that we fixed. And now it's on to the next thing, and creating new spaces that inspire, creating exhibit halls with these anchor experiences, using leading edge technology, using the creativity of our staff and volunteers to create immersive learning experiences about current research that's happening on campus, interdisciplinary work, and transdisciplinary research that's happening on campus in things like shared reality, which is a community event, community activity versus things like virtual reality, although those are great, but can be lonely sometimes. By 2026, or over the next year, we are already planning to launch the Hidden Lives of Stars, which is our first foray into this kind of activity. I've already seen some prototypes. Right before this meeting, I can't tell you about it too much other than it's awesome and cool. And we are opening the Hidden Lives of Stars in just a couple of months in November. We also are looking at new software technology for our planetarium dome. Currently, we're seriously considering Digistar, probably the direction we'll head because of its flexibility as we move forward and think about work and how we do things in addition to the astronomy education that we do so well. I've heard so often what happened to the Jupiter Ball. Well, it went on pause during COVID, and we were talking about bringing it back, and we plan to, but there'll be many other events to engage this space. This is such a special space. It has a tremendous amount of stories, incredible history. We walk the same hallways as American heroes like Jim Lovell and Buzz Aldrin and Michael Collins and Neil Armstrong and all these wonderful people that we grew up idolizing. And why not invite the public to experience those spaces in more ways, not just during our normal operating hours. The Career Launchpad is an intentional effort. We here, and I just heard last week, Andrew and I were up in DC, Washington, DC just last week, and I hear this thing all the time about former employees that are now making their way in the world, how critical and pivotal their experience at UNC working at Morehead was. And I could hear time and time again, most important job I had, favorite job I've ever had, most fun I ever had at work, those kinds of things. And so this just happens. It happens because the people that work here, that work with students, care deeply about students. And we want to be much more intentional about that. And so the Career Launchpad is about embracing that and giving students tools, not just what we do is we raise the bar. We have high expectations and they meet and exceed them, and they learn a lot in that experience. And we can do more than that. We can provide them skills, certainly the soft skills that are just necessary to work in today's world when we have no idea what the jobs of 2035 are going to be like. We don't. And so why don't we prepare students to be nimble and these transferable skills that are so important? Developing credentials, we're already working on that. We'll plan to launch our first credential in the next year, which will be a certificate in informal science education. But there are more of those kinds of credentials. In addition to working here, or in addition to taking a supplemental class, you can actually earn an additional credential in addition to your four-year degree. We think that will also help position our students in a new way. Over the next year, we plan to engage our alumni. We've already started in Washington, D.C. We've done some things in Charlotte. We plan to connect in Atlanta. We have alumni all over the country, but they do tend to find population centers. And so that's the beginning over the next year. We will continue to work and find new ways to connect with our alumni all over the country and world. We have alumni all over the world. A little bit harder to connect with international students alumni as much as local alumni. But our goal is to reconnect the best we can and collect those stories, because our former student employees are doing amazing things. And in many cases, they will point to Morehead as a pivotal experience. We want to know, and sometimes we hear about it, sometimes we don't. So we look forward to doing that. It's my pleasure to introduce Andrew Amadei, Morehead's Director of Advancement, who will share with you our current work and then our plans for our board structure and alignment as we look to achieve these ambitious goals.
Oh, you didn't have to, but thank you. I'm Andrew Amadei. I lead development here at Morehead. It's a pleasure to be here with you guys. You've heard Todd talk about the last fiscal year, the impact that this place has had here in Chapel Hill and across the state. And certainly it probably goes beyond that too in ways we don't know how to measure, but also what it looks like moving forward. And so I just want to frame for us, for you all here and those who are online, keeping with that 10-year vision. What might it look like in 10 years? And put that in our minds, and then beg the question, and now how do we get there? So 10 years from now, or 7 years from now, even better, the dome that the astronauts studied under has been removed. And it's been replaced with an LED dome that still does the typical full dome experience, but the screen comes all the way to the floor. And so whether you're a little kid coming on a field trip, or you're a student here at UNC, or anybody in between or older, you can walk right up to the screen and interact with what's in front of you. And because the resolution is so high, you actually lose a sense of being in a different place other than what you're being shown. You truly are immersed and transported. And because of the change in the software that we've made, which is really what makes this possible, we're not limited to astronomy, even though the study of astronomy and the display of different models and calculations and everything we do with that kind of display technology, we're not limited to that, but that is even more enhanced than what we've ever had before. But we can also go into gaming engines and we can truly engage with this interdisciplinary idea of different disciplines across campus. We can engage with the healthcare system. We can do athletics in the Dome as a venue. We can actually bring in all sorts of other kinds of content and experiences that we've never been able to do before, including bringing new programming, bringing live programming from other planetariums and observatories from around the planet that are streaming into our dome when new information is being presented. We're able to become a hub for that kind of information and broadcast that to our partners across the country, the state during the science festival, to say nothing of across the world. And we're able to bring in new content through new content providers on a more frequent basis than we had before. Our exhibit hall has been updated, and we're able to display multiple stories on each exhibit or one amazing research story throughout the entire planetarium and science center overall. This is offering new experiences to our guests, certainly to our students who are coming here on field trips across the state, to say nothing of the students who study here and the rest of the faculty and staff that are here as well. I could keep on going with that, to say nothing of the students who work here are now engaging in these kinds of experiences, which makes them more prepared, more well-trained for whatever their career might be thereafter. But if that's what we're going to end up, the marketing depth, the way we are arranged, the kind of bandwidth we have on staff, to say nothing of those who are engaged and involved on the board, as donors, as participants, as members, that's going to have to shift a bit before we're ready for those changes. And so while this board structure and alignment could be seen as just putting more people for the sake of having more people, this is actually about giving Morehead the bandwidth and the expertise it needs to advance forward so that we're ready for what is to come. And so, you can go to the next slide. This is essentially the way the structure looks. It's a big circle. It's great. But it's kind of why we're here today. So whether you're joining us online, you're watching this afterwards, or you're here in the room, you are the entire Friends of Morehead network. And in sharing the story of the last year, we're also inviting you to be a part of it. And we've broken into these different committees so that we can bring people alongside that are more than just in that typical 15 or so person advisory function, but can truly be a part of how can we best do our membership and marketing? How can we do these events? If we want to bring Jupiter Ball back, we're not just going to do Jupiter Ball. We're going to have to do things all year round, and even in different places than just here in this building, and get people to be more excited and involved and wanting to be a part of what is going on in this place and with the mission that we serve. The access and external, getting more people involved from different communities to help us discover where we can have these satellite sites like we've had in Gates County, advising on that, thinking through the growth and the sustainability of the North Carolina Science Festival. We can go on with that. And with this, we have a lot of special projects. New exhibit hall, new dome. There's going to be work on the exterior of the building so we have better hospitality. And we'll probably end up with way more than just that. To say nothing of those of you who are in the state dining hall right now. We might need to update this room too, eventually. Great as it is, we probably need to do something in here. Don't want to miss anyone, but with our university experience or engagement, this is actually going to be a committee that is pan-university, bringing people in, of course, that are donors, that are alumni, that are interested in what's going on here, but that also represent Carolina Performing Arts, the Ackland, other academic and faculty partnerships to help us imagine what is it exactly that we could do here to be a better campus resource and partner, making sure that if someone attends UNC as an undergraduate, graduate, or professional for their degree, they will have some opportunity to engage with the Morehead Planetarium and Science Center. We want to make sure they have that opportunity. Can't force it, of course, but we want to make sure that we can be seen and used as a common resource for all of UNC. So we go forward one slide real quick. Well, I'm going to skip the next one, just two more. this is the next year. Essentially, what this looks like is we've hired someone to look at our annual funds, to look at the sponsorships for the festival and other grants. And she just started this week. We're excited. Ellie, welcome. Yeah. But we're going to grow our bandwidth starting in that place and thinking differently about how we do that kind of work. The program with the science scholars, we're going to figure out how we can expand that and template it so that we can replicate that in other places. But also, we're going to start moving forward with some of this campus partnership, these ideas, putting academic coursework back in here, having our first new exhibit in several years. It's really prototyping the concept of how can we have something more universally applicable and easily updated instead of it being static year after year after year and really expensive to replace too. We already have the testing laptop for Digistar. It's just a matter of staff getting trained up and knowing how to implement that in a way that in the next academic year, we can start to put the program in place even ahead of the LED dome. So we can start to realize the power of that software package before we have all of the bells and whistles that will come with the new infrastructure. With our capacity, we're starting to recruit more board members. When I started nearly a year ago, we had about 15 people on the board. Today we have 30, and that's going to keep on growing. Todd mentioned going to Washington, D.C., Charlotte, and Atlanta. We're identifying our former student employees and other donors who are really interested in what Morehead has to offer. And we're starting to socialize this with them and really form those groups so that we can really harness the power, the energy, and the passion of those individuals in those places. Plus, when we go back to that LED dome idea, you don't understand it until you see it. We've had a few people in the room who've gone out to Salt Lake City to see it firsthand. And a new experience center that hosts the Cadillac of this technology is going to be installed in Atlanta in 2026. So sometime in 2026, 2027 timeframe, we're planning on bringing everyone who's excited about this upgrade to Morehead down to Atlanta and let them see that firsthand. And it's going to be an amazing event. But if we're going to get people excited about that and wanting to go, we have to start that work right now. And that's what a lot of this comes down to. Hence, expanding our board, putting a committee structure in place so that we can really broaden the net to socialize and help communicate where we're headed and how we're going to get there. So, Todd.
Thank you, Andrew. So what does success look like, and what is the impact of the kind of work that we are talking about? We appreciate scrutiny. We appreciate people asking, what is the value? What's the value of higher education? What's the importance of science research? What's the importance of discovery? Because that I know the answers to those. And it just makes us a little sharper in the messaging that we have, because I think that's part of our job, is ensuring that everyone understands how important these kinds of issues are. And so we want to access Morehead's resources and UNC's resources to extend the promise of higher education to many, many more. We also want, when students are here at UNC, we want to play our role in providing the most successful, the most impactful kind of experience that students can have when they're at a university campus, as they're studying, positioning themselves, what's next. We also want to expand our reach, even though we have great success, and it's fun to talk about being in all 100 counties. There are the vast majority of individuals in those communities still do not engage with Morehead programs. There's a lot of the world left for us to engage and work with. Andrew mentioned the new technology. I've also talked about a new technology. The current leading edge technology is LED technology. We're super excited about the potential that brings. And we'll always be looking at the best ways to tell the stories that we want to tell. We want to work with more researchers as they are compelled to tell the stories of the broader impact of their work. And we want them to focus on the things they do so extraordinarily well. And we want to work with them so we do what we do well, and that's communicate these stories in ways that will excite, inspire, educate the general public. We also, as Andrew mentioned, we did primarily work behind the scenes in this building. There's work to be done in the grounds surrounding the building. We look forward to creating a much more inviting experience as soon as you enter our parking lot. The Career Launchpad, we want, whether you work at Morehead or not, we want you to have an experience with Morehead when you're at UNC. We want every student at UNC to come to programs, to feel like this place is theirs, because it is. And we want to work across campus, work with partners that we've worked with in the past that we want to work with more, new partners that we've heard about but don't truly know very well. We look forward to working with them. We want our student employees to be even more prepared and to have a true advantage, like credentials, like these real world experiences that they can have at Morehead where they might not have working at other places in and around Chapel Hill. And we want not only to engage and work with our employees and student employees in particular, we also want to work with our alumni network to connect with them, their employers, so we can provide opportunities for our student employees while they're employed here, but also when they graduate. So to be successful, if we look back 10 years from now, we look back and say, wow, we did this. What does that look like? Absolutely expanded work in North Carolina, throughout North Carolina and beyond. Absolutely enhanced facility. It's a glorious building. And some places need to be revitalized. This beautiful state dining room certainly could use an update. We use temporary ramps to get people who are on walkers and wheelchairs to get from one place to another, making those permanent. Those kinds of things need to happen. And then certainly our Morehead student employees are prepared to succeed in an ever-changing world, an ever-changing working environment. Who knew that AI was going to transform as quickly as it did? Because I learned about AI when I was in college many, many years ago. And it just seems like the last couple of years it's taken on exponential importance. Thank you very much for being here. Thank you very much for being here in person. For those of you who are here and for those of you who are joining us online, I'm happy to take any questions. If you're here in person, you can raise your hand. If you are online, you can ask a question in the chat function. We have someone looking at the chat, and we'll do our best to answer those.
Thanks for those fine reports. I'm sure you've done this, but I'd like to hear what we've learned from other planetariums around the country that would help us move forward more rapidly.
It's a very good question. We are looking right now on what our peer group is doing. Our peer group, I'll tell you, in terms of what we do and how we categorize ourselves, we are in a peer group of 4. The 3 that I'll mention to you, some of you may be very familiar with, you may be in particular, the MIT Museum in Cambridge, the Lawrence Hall of Science at Berkeley, and the University of Arizona Flandreau Science Center at the University of Science Center and Planetarium at the University of Arizona, and then us. And those are each what we would consider major science centers embedded on a Research One university campus. So that's our main peer group. Now we have other peers for different things, but generally speaking, that's our peer group. And so when we say we want to lead, there are areas that we already are leading. We're actually the envy of pretty much all of my colleagues in terms of the statewide work that we do. The MIT Museum has a brand new building I'm quite envious about. And I look forward to learning more about how they actually at MIT are thinking about ways that the sciences intersect with the humanities. And that's at MIT. So why wouldn't UNC, of course, learn from them, but also lead in that space? So that kind of work is being done now. In terms of general planetariums, I will say that the dream of most planetarium directors is to have an LED dome. They're expensive. It is the leading edge of immersive technology now. And there are a few that are being installed. It's still new. And so visiting those sites, visiting the Experience Center in Atlanta, we look forward to sharing that with as many people who are interested in making that trip down next summer. Because as Andrew mentioned, it's as soon as we went digital 15 years ago, anyone who's had a digital planetarium is chasing black. It's chasing true black, because it's not true black. When you project, it's gray. And no matter what anybody says, it's just a shade of gray. Well, I saw black when I went to the LED Experience Center in Salt Lake City. So the resolution is amazing. But more importantly, it's these kinds of technologies allow us to tell so many different stories in so many different ways. And so it might not be our classic peer group. They may be different kinds of peers. It just so happens that the CEO of COSM, which is the sector leader in LED technology for planetariums, is a UNC alum, and the vice president for experiences at Sphere in Vegas is also a UNC alum. So I've had multiple conversations with both of them, and they're great resources to have. So our peer network may rely more heavily on the UNC connections than these classic historical science center and planetarium connections. It's a good question.
I know you mentioned a lot of different events, and so you probably didn't have a chance to touch on all of them, but any plans to celebrate Artemis II in the spring?
The question was about Artemis II. Absolutely. Denise, that we've been anxiously hoping and waiting for that for a while, and we're excited that it is now on the books for next year. For those of you who don't know, a North Carolinian, Christina Cook, is on Artemis II. We will absolutely celebrate that. Look forward to coordinating with the people that know her well. And Christina's wonderful. She also told me, as someone who grew up in North Carolina, came to Morehead Planetarium, told me that when she came to the planetarium, it's really when she realized, oh, this is my thing. And I think that's a great story to tell and share. So yes, we will, and we actually wanted to do more with cosmic phenomena in general. And I think the Artemis series of missions has ignited a level of interest that I've not seen in a long time. And I think it's the human element of sending someone into deep space. I think I understand why we went to the shuttle mission, and there's amazing research that happens in the International Space Station, but there's something else at work when you're sending a human out yonder. And I look forward to that, to leveraging that kind of excitement and having such a local, wonderful advocate who's going to be circling the moon, which is amazing.
I wanted to add on this, Denise, also to say that we in the back corner have some thoughts about an Artemis exhibit that would go into the Gateway Gallery. And that would also include working with someone who has just joined this larger Friends of Morehead group as an advisor, David Shives. He's an artist as well as an astronomer, as well as a person of many hats. And he's been working on sculpting the surface of the lunar surface to within 30 meters of accuracy. And so we're dreaming about the spot that Artemis 3 will land to be able to show, but to be able to talk about the Artemis program as a whole and highlight Christina's work. So.
Okay, thank you for your questions. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for your interest and support of Morehead Planetarium and Science Center. This Friends of Morehead it's actually what we experience on a regular basis. We have a structure to keep people involved, and I'm very excited about that, and look forward to working with all of you as we serve North Carolina and beyond, and achieve these ambitious and very necessary goals that we've set for ourselves and for our communities. Thank you very much.